Hey everyone, welcome to Taste Different Gaming Appetizers. And what are we talking about this time? We're talking about the Nintendo Direct. Had a lot of things to show off, and one of the things it showed off was a new game from FromSoftware, a PvPvPvPvPvE game that looks like Bloodborne, but it's not. It's called Duskbloods. It was a big surprise. It's going to be a Switch 2 exclusive, according to the Direct. It looked like Bloodborne. I think we all thought it was Bloodborne at first, but then when they got to it, it was Duskbloods. Miyazaki, in a new interview, said we got a lot of information about the idea came to life, as well as the goals from FromSoftware. In this interview, Miyazaki noted that the team has been experimenting for a while with a way to meld its world-class enemy and encounter designs with co-op and PvP more directly. The Bloodsworn, the game's protagonist/player characters, are all competing for first blood because of the power it holds. The game has a flow that anyone who played Battle Royale games should be familiar with. 8 players spawn in a hub area, which is where they get to pick from pre-made classes, customize their character, and join the match. Players spawn at random locations in the game's various maps, which Miyazaki said depict various eras of humanity. Win or lose, all players will return to the hub with some unspecified rewards to grow their characters and get back in. And at the end of the scene, there was a rat, and that is the firekeeper. It's actually an elderly gentleman. FromSoft just wanted to make sure it was something cute for a change. More in line with Nintendo's brand, apparently. In the match itself, your goal is to be the last player standing, pretty typical for a Battle Royale, and to obtain victory points. Those can be gained through direct combat or by only partaking when you're guaranteed to win, so-called third party. Some events could alter the structure, however, and introduce different victory conditions. Miyazaki gave the example of tasking players with taking down a boss to win. In fact, the game is dynamic enough to occasionally spawn special enemies and set fresh objectives for players. According to Miyazaki, the studio wanted to create multiple avenues for players to succeed so that even those who aren't good at PvP could still find it satisfying. The director also touched on his ideas of roles which players can pick from and customize. Some of those examples given include the role that will task one player with taking down another specific player or protecting them instead. Roles can be assigned to any character using blood. Again, it's a exclusive to the Switch 2 coming out in 2026. So it's an interesting take on the Battle Royale PvP system that we've seen from different games with the varying objectives and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about a game like that. I mean, I love FromSoftware and a lot of their games, but I don't know. I mean, there's two things that I don't know if I like. I mean, I kind of like what Miyazaki is saying about the ideas on the different, trying to include those that aren't big into PvP. That's always good, right? But at the same time, it being on the Switch 2 is also, I mean, because Nintendo's networking, their whole networking infrastructure is not great now. And I don't know how it'll be on the Switch 2, but if they're not pumping money into that infrastructure, it could potentially be the game might be fun potentially, but the experience may not be so much in Nintendo's ecosystem. So we'll see. And then if you can play online, they did introduce the voice chat and the whole camera system. Are you going to be able to use that on the online games? Are they going to introduce that? I can see a lot of penises happening with that, depending on how people can get included into these, like with the, whatever Nintendo decides as far as like being able to see them visually with the camera and stuff like that. I would assume you have to allow people into your group or something like that. So I'm sure they have some various things to block people from doing that. But overall, I don't know. Night Rain sounds a lot of fun. That's an online only, that's the other online game that's coming out. That one's online only co-op game. And this one's more of on the lines of their PvP with some PvE elements as well thrown in there. So I don't know. Pat, what do you think of the Duskbloods?
It seems like an odd game for the Switch, right? I don't know. Like, it's not a co-op game. It's like 1v7, right? Or it's PvP.
I mean, it could be cooperative with the roles, right? If you had a role that was a protector to protect one of them.
He mentions doing stuff like that to give people who don't like PvP something to do. But if I am probably I'm probably a typical like non-PvP gamer. And when I see stuff like this, I just avoid it. I'm not going to go jump into it. Because I'm like, I mean, maybe it'll change different when I see some actual gameplay of what's going to happen and what and stuff like that. But as I see this now, if I had a Switch 2 and I could afford a Switch 2, I would avoid this game with what I know so far. Because while I play some PvP games, I only play PvP focused games with Nick and Shane because I play games what they want to. We play games together, and it's not always about what you want to play. It's like, hey, I want to hang out with my friends and play games, so they want to play this. I'm going to jump in and play with them. But this game has no draw for that because it's not co-op. It's it's pretty much every man for himself with your own objectives, right? You may have a PvE objective where you have to go do this, but it sounds more often than not you're going to have a specific PvP because even if you're doing a PvE objective, you can still be forced into PvP, right? Because your objective may be to slay this NPC or whatever, but somebody may have an objective to slay you, right? So you'll be forced into PvP. Or like you mentioned, protect the one player while they're doing their mission. And you're like, well, that's definitely almost going to be indirectly into PvP. Because first of all, I doubt with a game like that, they're probably going to have voice chat because, it adds to the mystery of what is that player's intention. So, I guess you could allow some voice chat and it would be more like Among Us type stuff where you're like, is that guy telling the truth? If I go attack this character, this NPC, because that's what I'm supposed to do, and he said he's here to protect me, is he just not really here to protect me and he's just waiting for me to get distracted so he can have an easier kill? Things like that. So I would look at that and be like, I am avoiding this title, especially because it's going to be an $80 game probably. I don't want to waste my $80. And they're comparing it to Bloodborne. I can't speak to that because I have never played Bloodborne. I am not the biggest Souls fan player neither. I love Elden Ring, but from my understanding and from what I've experienced, Elden Ring is kind of like Dark Souls super light. I played like the original Dark Souls and I lasted an hour with it. I'm like, this game's just not for me. So, and I've tried a couple of times over my gaming career and I'm just like, I just don't have time to beat my head on these bosses until I learn their moveset and patterns and how to avoid it. But I love Elden Ring and I pumped a ton of hours into Elden Ring, like hundreds of hours into that. I love that game. But it's, from my understanding, and Nick can probably attest because he's played the Bloodborns and the the other FromSoftware games, Dark Souls. It's like Dark Souls extra light, so so I don't know. This is weird because this kind of reminds me almost like Hunt, but minus the co-op almost a little bit, or a game like that where.
Yeah, I was thinking of Hunt as well.
Yeah,
but minus the co-op portion of it, right?
And I'm just like, okay, so I don't know.
It like Make a Break with
It may be a great game, and like I said, I'm trying not to judge it too harshly, but at the same time, I question why Switch 2? Why Switch 2 only? Especially because it's not made by Nintendo, and that's what surprised. I mean, FromSoftware, like have you not learned the lessons of Square Enix and a few of these other ones that make an expensive game and limit yourself to one console? I mean, I assume it's because there's not going to be any crossplay with the Nintendo and between Nintendo and the other two, Xbox and Sony, right? It took Sony forever to come around to crossplay. I don't think Nintendo's network has any desire to do that. And Nintendo themselves probably have no appetite for it. But it just seems odd that this is exclusive to Nintendo. I don't understand that from software. I just don't get it.
Me neither.
It puzzles me to no end why they would make something like this and put it on.
I would imagine money. I mean, I assume Nintendo threw a bunch of money at them and said, "Make this exclusive," right, or something like that.
Right. You could do two things, right? Nintendo could have paid them, and then they also said, "This is a good test to see if you can sell a game for $80 and be successful."
This is a good test for your network and see if it can hold up. Yeah, I mean, but Mario Kart World's an online racing game, and that's going to be out before then. But
right, but this seems almost. I mean, like they mentioned, it's their own direct interaction. So I'm assuming like very specific dodge and attack. You know,
right? It's going to be very
fluid. You know, and very. You know, you can't have these hiccups. You know, and
right.
I don't know. I mean, could be wrong. Nintendo's network might hold up just fine. We'll see. But like I said, I'm a little puzzled with this game, and I'm not sure. From what I know so far, it's not a game for me. But all I have is a trailer to go off of. I don't have any gameplay. I don't have anything else. And FromSoftware has kind of grown on me with, like I said, with the Elden Ring series, and I am definitely hyped for Night Rain. And you know, I mean, that I love the Elden Ring games. Like I said, I can't say it enough because it's outside of my wheelhouse of games. And I begged for co-op for those games, real co-op, and not the drop in and not the weird little use the summoning circles. And Nick and I have modded it and played co-op. And it was it was awesome amount of fun to play co-op from start to finish and not have to worry about it. As soon as I kill this boss, he's gonna vanish out, you know. So that was good. And then I think they made the same modders made a mod for the first, the Elder. So they made a couple of other ones. I mean, did they make one for the other FromSoftware games, Dark Souls?
There's one. I don't know if it's out yet or not. But they're making one for Dark Souls 3.
Maybe I'll jump in there if you want to jump back in and we can run together. I like their lore. I like their worlds. I just don't have the appetite to beat down on a boss for that long. And I mean, I like games that are similar to that. You know, what's the shooting one? Was it Remnant or whatever it was?
Yeah, Remnant
1 and 2. You know, I like those games. So they're fun to me. I just don't have the time to beat on one as difficult as Dark Souls.
Right.
So, but I don't know. This game just doesn't seem for me. So I'm I'm on the fence for it. And I really am not even close to the fence because I can't afford a Switch 2 at that price point. So I look forward to seeing some actual gameplay and maybe some reviews after when they start putting out review copies and things like that.
Right.
Maybe I'll change my mind.
Yeah. And I don't think that what was odd for me is also the trailer for it was a little off for me personally. Like it didn't, I don't know. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, it looked like a hodgepodge of like different scenes put together. Like it was, it may have just been the trailer, right, itself, where it just wasn't put together well, which is unusual for FromSoftware because their trailers are usually pretty cool. But this was like, seemed like all over the place, and I could not follow it very well. And so the trailer just seemed like really bad for introducing this game, which is unusual for them because usually their trailers are pretty cool. But it is what it is. I'm not interested in either being a PvE game. I'm not a huge fan of those types of games. Some of them we've played depending on how they are, right? We've played Hunt Showdown, and that's a fun game. It does have that PvP element, but the PvE element's fun, and the whole, that kind of whole thing. And even Mecha Break, we played a lot of that, and that mode did have a It was a PvPvE mode as well, but it was a lot of fun. So it just depends on how it does it. But this one seems like everyone's, like you said, everyone's on their own, and it doesn't have like and maybe they'll introduce something like that, like a 4v4 or something, because 8 players, right? Maybe they'll do like a 4v4 or 2v2s or something like that, or
teams of 2, duos
other
or
modes
something.
or something like that.
Yeah. And we don't, and, everybody's like speculating that it's got some tie-ins to, Bloodborne, but it doesn't seem to be that. I mean, from somebody outside, everything's saying no, but I don't know the Bloodborne series. I can't speak to that.
Visually, it looks like Bloodborne. Like when it came off at first, I thought it was a Bloodborne. So visually, it looks like it, but Bloodborne's more in line of like Dark Souls. It's just a different setting and story and stuff like that, like kind of Victorian era looking.
Right. Okay. So I mean, but we'll see. I mean, will it stay a Switch 2 exclusive, or is it just like a timed exclusive? We don't know. I mean,
hopefully it's a timed exclusive.
It's being published by Nintendo, so yeah.
Nintendo doesn't like to play with others.
No, so they don't. They like to stay in their own little ecosystem, sheltered from the outside world. So
we'll
maybe I won't play it. I'll live vicariously through YouTube if it looks any good.
Yeah, we'll have to see when it comes out, right? We'll know more as it gets, because this is a 2026 release, so we'll know more as it gets closer to time and what it ends up being, and it might end up being a really cool game. I don't know. We'll just have to see when it gets there. So
yep, for sure.
You got anything else you want to say about the Duskblood?
Nope. I sure hope it's, if it turns out to be something amazing, that it's not a Switch 2 exclusive permanently.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it comes to PC. I'm hoping Nintendo takes a line out of PlayStation and starts putting their exclusives on PC. That would be really cool to play like Tears of the Kingdom or something, Metroid on a PC, because then you could really see the visual ness of it and give it a lot more longevity. Think about the mods for like Tears of the Kingdom or something. That would be insane. Like
Nintendo probably doesn't want any part of that.
They probably don't, but I wish they did.
Yeah. They're like, we don't want you infringing on our IP. Get out of here.
Come on, Nintendo. Let us infringe.
We don't want you to put Zelda in Mario Kart. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Zelda's Mario Kart, but Mario Kart and Zelda.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. We don't want you to have Link build a cart, Mario Kart.
Yeah. Have a whole like racetrack.
Yeah. We'll invite Peach and everybody in the Zelda.
The whole Mushroom Kingdom's there.
Yeah. So I mean, time will tell. Yeah. Lots of stuff to soak in from Nintendo Direct, and just not a whole lot of details on everything.
Right. It was a lot of information, but a lot of it was pretty vague too. So we'll know more as the time continues on. But other than that, let us know down in the comments below. What did Duskbloods look interesting to you? What else in the Direct looked interesting to you? Let us know down in the comments. Do you like the aspect of a PvPvE Dark Souls type game? Let us know. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already. Help us out. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.